asset.
The work now starts.
The work now begins.
Now the work begins.
The good news is that the governor and all other parties concerned want to spend big money on EVs, even after the tsunami of money that was Volkswagen Dieselgate and the NEVI, NEVI federal program, which did an amazing pirouette at the 12th hour and said, remember everything we said about CCS being the way forward? Forget about it. NEVI will go next. And is there any news from drivers of CCS vehicles from your manufacturer about when you will have an adapter? Bolt, Polestar, Ford Lightning?
I've been in the shop since October, so
How could a brand new Ford Lightning possibly be in the shop since October?
Great question. That is a wonderful, great question.
Okay.
I think Ford corporate's on top of it, but the dealers just don't know, don't care to know, and they're dealers are fully dropped the ball on the service.
For those of you online, I'm sure you'll be shocked to hear that a Ford dealer is not providing good customer service or proving capable of servicing the Ford Lightning that's been in the shop since October.
I got it back for 1 week. Then Module 2 went south.
Module 2 as in battery module?
Yeah, battery module. The first one was battery module 7, I think. Took them a month, about five weeks to do that one.
I thought it was only the Ultium battery packs that were having problems.
So remember last September when there was that week stoppage, production stoppage, and no cell stoppage because of a battery issue at the plant. I think perhaps it's related to that. This is going through a whole big tangent.
Wow.
Did you get a loaner while your trucks?
I didn't press for the loaner because I have my own backup vehicle. I probably should have, and I would put a fire under the bus to stop paying for their loaner. But we're doing a lemon repurchase, and so, yep, whole thing.
This was one of the first Lightning sold in the region, was it not?
It was the second or third out of my dealership, so I still love it. It's a kick-ass truck. I would love, especially to have it this weekend, this coming weekend, because they can run my house for me. It's out, pull out the old generator and debate running the house off my old Honda Insight through my local source.
Ryan loves his lemon, but he'll take the sugar instead.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So there was a struggle from corporate about separating the electric from Ford Electric from production, and what we call one blue.
Yeah, Ford Blue.
And then there was some kind of ultimatum to the Ford dealerships that they had to do one or the other or something. And I haven't heard anything more about that.
So I think that there was like a Ford dealership electric certification program, I recall.
Okay.
And there were 2 tiers. One was like you can do minimal maintenance, the other one is you're on full service maintenance, and the dealers each got certified. And so in their front windows is a EV certified shop decal thing that they bought into doing. I don't recall the details of like what that means. I don't think they weren't required to install AC fast chargers. My dealership has like one level 2 that they've had for years. It's nothing special. I have some other charging infrastructure, which has been a stipulation for like other manufacturers, deals with dealers that you need to get charging infrastructures, full support, whatever. And one of the first questions during the purchasing was, did you go through the EV green or whatever electric certification stuff? And they're like, yeah, there's our thing in the window. I was like, okay, good. Then I can come back for service, I guess. Yes. And understandably, there hasn't been a lot of service for the things, but they're also don't appear to be interested in becoming more familiar with the service. They have a wonderful opportunity with my truck, get in and get it out. But Ford Corporate called me 3 days before the truck initially threw a check engine code, so they knew it was coming. Would you like to schedule service? I'm like, I'm not going to schedule service with a cold call from somebody whose ID says Ford recall, but could say whatever you want it to say.
Right.
Right? I'll wait till and so sure enough, I drove to work, drove home, drove on the weekend, Monday getting to go to work, and check engine, service soon, use power mode. So then I called up and dropped it off, and I was scheduled for 1 week later to be in service, and then 3 weeks later, they diagnosed it. Then Ford recall kept pestering them. They would call me and say, did the dealer contact you yet? No, the dealer hasn't talked to me. Okay, I'm gonna call them up and make sure that they do the diagnostic, so we know what part to order. Okay, has the dealer talked to you? Nope, they haven't talked to me yet. Okay, well, we found out that it was model number 7's bad. We sent them, we're shipping them the part. You know, they'll get it. They told me that their tech was sick out of work for a week. It's just, yeah, they don't care to care. Is the impression I'm getting, so.
But the whole model was Ford trying to introduce something like Tesla where you could actually buy your vehicle online and not have to do it through the dealership.
They are pushing that more so, yes. So I did my reservation on the launch day. I put in my $100 reservation for the Lightning on launch day, which is why I got my delivery early, right? And there was no additional dealer markup over MSRP.
Oh, very good.
So it was kind of online-ish.
Okay.
And yeah, I've heard that since then they're pushing that, trying to push that even more. Of course, they're getting back to dealers, but whatever, yeah.
Oh, wow. I got a struggle.
And how many days was this before you offered to unload this lemon on my dear old dad?
When did I show him the truck? Probably a month before. I think I showed your dad a month before this all started happening, yeah.
Yeah.
None of this had happened, yeah.
My dad was despairing over the progress on his Rivian reservation and seriously considered picking up a Lightning. But I'm happy to report that he took delivery of the Rivian in early December, and by Christmas, he had it 2,000 miles away, towing a 28-foot Airstream to the Mississippi Gulf Coast and back. And they're currently on their way back to Colorado after the family wedding on the coast.
R1T?
Yes, the R1T with the Max Pack and the dual motor. He had been holding out for the quad motor, and they decided they weren't going to make it. But I dispensed with ceremony while we were coming in slowly, and we have a couple of new or nearly new faces that ought to be recognized, including the man with the pencil-thin mustache and the nearly unrecognizable plaid and bearded fellow in the corner there. What brings you to Sivas, kind stranger?
Oh, wow.
I heard you were meeting closer to my house.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that voice. It's Chad Schwitters.
I'm Chad Schwitters. I usually go to few meetings and how I don't.
The man, the myth, the legend, Chad Schwitters, who can explain conquest vehicles in automotive marketing better than anyone I've ever
Yeah,
heard.
right, that was a big speech.
I would describe him as a business modeling genius.
All right. And we have other exotic personas in the room, including the man who doesn't need to take his hat off indoors, Hugh Glass of Moab, Utah.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Hugh from Moab.
Hugh from Moab, who still carries a flip phone, has virtually no internet presence, so you may not know that you're in the presence of the most accomplished pusher trailer driver in the United States and likely the world. Hugh has been my inspiration for, what, 8+ years at least?
Yes, we've talked a lot.
I learned of him, and he drove over 100 miles out of his way on one of my Christmas trips to Colorado just so I could experience the joy of driving his RAV4 EV powered by a pusher trailer.
Type 1 Volkswagen?
Type 1 Volkswagen engine. It's outside for closer inspection. It is very simple. Those of you who saw my Carmen Ghia pusher trailer at the Greenwood Hot Rod Show, it was inspired by Hugh's creation and J.B. Straubel's original pusher trailer that I ran into the ground, blew up the engine on a hot August afternoon, and it now resides in the Historic Electric Vehicle Foundation collection in Kingman, Arizona, which I'm sad to say was burglarized recently. Some high school kids broke into the storage facility, and took ignition keys out of more than a dozen vehicles, rare and special ignition keys. And if Grace was here, I would be asking her to search the bottom of her junk drawer in the kitchen for one last CODA key,
Yeah.
because the CODA had its only key taken, and they don't even know what key blank to use. They're looking for a pattern, at least what will fit in the slot, so that the locksmith may do his work.
Unspec Motoring Kyle picked up a CODA.
The last new CODA in the world.
Yeah.
They've been growing dust behind a dealership, and they charged it up and drove it away.
They found the keys for that also, I believe. So.
Yes. I
Car that came out, what, 2012?
I believe the CODA was 2011, 2012,
Yeah.
and it was actually a 90s Mazda sedan that got relicensed for production in China. The body was made in China, and then they put all the electric innards in California. Yulan?
UQM motor, which was. pretty
Oh,
nice
yes.
motor. And a 35 kilowatt hour battery, so it would do over 100 miles, so.
Mhm. And it was reliable for Grace, and she put a lot of miles on hers, and I believe that is the one at the Historic EV Foundation Museum.
Yeah,
I want to say that Grace donated hers.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, so that is the key. So maybe she's got another one stashed away. That would be very, very lucky.
What is Hughes' last name?
Glass.
Hugh Glass.
Yes, unbreakable. Though he's a Gorilla Glass. And the trailer is unadorned at the moment. He's been re-engineering the spare engine attachments. He carries 2 engine cores on that trailer back home to Utah, because you might imagine an air-cooled Volkswagen engine that was pulled from a salvage vehicle doesn't have that long a service life on the highway at full throttle. So he's always got one being rebuilt while another one is pushing its heart out. But it's a lot of fun, and we even got to use the Electrac garden tractor forklift to pull Volkswagen engines with over the last couple days. So that was a riot. Phil was going to give us some words about the Historic Electric Vehicle Foundation fundraising effort. Do you have something to say?
Sure, I am a lousy speaker, so I'm passing around the opportunity to sign up once for $5, so that we have your name. And then we will love you later if you tell us you want to talk, otherwise we're in the low bug zone. So this should be going around here. And Jeff is here somewhere. Where's Jeff? Jeff is here quietly telling me that I'm going to take over his duties. He's becoming his food or something like that. Exactly. And Jeff has been in this way more than I have. Do you want to say anything, Jeff, about where we're at with you on the status of building?
I've just been really busy putting together their plan for 2024. And it's going to be a big year. But we'd love everybody to join as a member, and you get grandfathered in at $25 a year. And you'll get a special founding members pin and decal, that decal. I think what else?
Oh, and they come down when I'm there and they buy lunch. So, if they come down when I'm there, I'll buy them lunch.
I've been trying to collect on a lunch from Phil for years.
Hey, come on, I get you.
We're
Yeah, we
kind
go
of-
to Kingman, Arizona.
we're working toward being part of the big Mother's Road 100th anniversary celebration in 2026. And on the front, there is kind of a picture an architectural rendering of kind of the first phase of a new big experiential EV museum. And if you look carefully in the background, you can see the Historic Electric Vehicle Foundation's Kingman office, which is located in the registered nationally, the Oddfellows building. And, we're slowly making progress.
I'm gonna, since Jeff is so quiet, I'm gonna translate to this. It's gonna be really cool. So please participate and
Yeah,
please
we're-
help us spread the word about it. So, this is not a big enough group to even buy a campaign, so we're gonna have to have enough, talking and inviting and all the things that people do. It's what, 90 miles south of Las Vegas?
I'm sorry?
It's about 90 miles south of Las Vegas. Yeah. So you go to Las Vegas and then don't lose your money. You got here first and go back. So, and you can talk to me, you guys all know how to talk to me, and I'll interpret. Yes.
It's going to be essentially the bricks and mortar location, and there'll be virtual access to the members. So that's kind of the direction it's going. Hopefully, by the end of this year, there'll be some virtual access to the existing museum, which is our 10th anniversary, by the way.
Oh.
And you'll have the opportunity to have your name on plaques and things, and donations and whole. If you click on this, you'll see what outfits are. I'm planning on driving down.
We've got a lot of different ways to have you contribute.
Yes. Well, I contributed a car years ago, and joined as a dues-paying member last year. Can't wait to visit the facility. I would encourage you all to do the same, and I think it's entirely appropriate that a bunch of retirees wishing to build a museum dedicated to old electric vehicles are housed in the Oddfellows building.
It's not just old electric vehicles.
Yeah?
We have a 2008 Tesla Roadster that somebody contributed.
Wow.
Two RAV4s.
That's-
all from the same family.
That's old. The manufacturers tell me that my 2012 and my 2016 are obsolete. They can't upgrade the telematics on them or the maps or anything else.
We're looking for the 1837 card that the Dutch professor put together. So if anybody has to lead on that,
Oh.
you know.
Okay, I'm fresh out of those.
If you decide you're gonna donate something, I found out that Jeff was or is an old IRS agent, and will tell you that he will not evaluate your car's value, but might explain the process.
Yeah, some other.
But not today.
I'll
Not today, talk to him.
And have I missed anyone else who is here for the first time or the first time in a long time? Who?
It's been a minute.
Yes, sir.
I'm Paul. I am like the eternal wannabe, EV wannabe. I work at Microsoft Shuttle, which is
Oh, I remember now, yes.
slowly electrifying. They have 2 vans, 2 ID4s, two Ford vans, 2 ID4s, and a Van Hool bus now. And I know someone who knows the person who's head of the electrification program, so maybe I'll try and invite him to a meeting once we know where we're gonna be. As an aside, this facility is easy for me to get to from work, but almost impossible to get home. So if anyone's heading into Seattle, talk to me after the meeting, because it's like an hour and a half by transit. Let's see. There was something else important, and I totally forgot. I just wanted to share that we are at Microsoft is slowly electrifying their vehicle fleets, various vehicle fleets.
I have wondered, but we no longer have a great contact within Microsoft beyond yourself that I know of. They used to host an electric vehicle conference there at the same time that they were banning employees from plugging into the garage. Any chance they would have a good venue for hosting SEVA meetings where we could meet next to our cars?
I wish I knew, because I work for a contractor, so I'm like a few
That's like 95% of the people there, right?
Yeah, but I'm pretty much removed from the Microsoft proper.
Okay.
I'm kind of like, I'm just driving through.
Well, the quest is still on for the ultimate meeting space. OEVA had the best digs around forever with the glass picture windows on the sheltered courtyard with through the floor plugs in the gated courtyard for their vehicles. Yes, sir. Someone was
Yeah,
assigned.
Grace took a look at it, yeah, it's just that access from I-5 is very difficult. That's the problem.
Transit access also.
Transit access also. So I-5 access and transit access were negatives on Fisherman's Terminal. But for what? For EV chargers. And that was a big bonus. 6 SEMA Connect stations, and my SEMA Connect card from 2012 still worked on those, even though Blink has bought them out. Was anybody in sore need of a charge and unable to plug in tonight? No. Okay, good.
What's the shortest range in the, who has the shortest range? You got here.
Depends on what EV I'm driving.
Absolutely.
5-bar lead. That's not really a grocery sometimes.
So you get halfway here and then push it, or?
Yeah, I didn't bring it here.
That's what I
Same
did.
question, who in another 3 weeks wouldn't be able to make it, or wherever they live, because you got the shortest range.
Well, depending on where the venue is, I may not be able to make it.
I think he's got the shortest.
Yeah, I no longer come here in the 45-mile IMEV, but it does a commute every day for my wife.
I could make it here, I could make it just driving, but if I had to go further south, like that, building up on the hill, I
Hospital.
probably couldn't run it as easy.
EV drivers always live on the top of a hill. Why should we not meet there?
Think we gotta go up and down, up and down.
I'd like to introduce her, she's real shy.
I have a Model Y now, so.
Irina back there is helping me with digital marketing, and she's pretty good at it. So she's so shy, she doesn't know you guys, she's afraid to get back, way back. She's a great person. We work together well.
Irina, who works at Kemper Development, which is eager to install more EVSE.
And
Any details
I
there?
have the personal cell phone of the guy who's gonna do the work, so we'll see where that goes.
Right.
Well, if they're gonna put in any DC fast charging stations,
It's not even that far along. Okay. Yeah, they're just going,
I'm-
we're gonna have to do something.
singing the phrases of anytime DC fast charge stations are put in, let's try and get people to think about there should be pull-through stations. I have never seen a
Amen.
gas pump that is not a pull-through. All of them are. And as we get more electric vehicles, if you have a bike rack on the back of your electric vehicle, if you're towing a trailer, as we get wildly different shaped electric vehicles where charge ports aren't standardized, we need all DC fast chargers, or many of them, to be pull-through.
The only one I've ever seen is the Burlington one, this is Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla has some in Baker, California, both Tesla and Electrify America have a beautiful set of pull-throughs where almost every station is pull-through with solar awnings. That's the way to go.
Ryan's got something?
Well, we're talking about venue and charging.
Yeah.
Did anyone try to use, I think there's SEMA Connect now? Blink?
I'm plugged in,
Okay,
yes.
so there are 3 pedestals, 2 heads per pedestal. It says for the employees only or faculty only, go ahead and use whatever's available, that's fine, there's no regulations on it. But I think that we haven't had issues like people, icing it or charging and not leaving, or just EVs parking and not charging there. But is anyone using it tonight? Did we find any of them open? They installed them just at the same time that I switched from, from a 6-bar lead to a Chevy Bolt and no longer needed it. So I can make 2 round trips in the Bolt, and so I haven't needed to use them ever since. I've used them off and on periodically just for kicks, anybody using them tonight?
Yeah, I am, and I used my SEMA Connect card that is at least 11 years old, and it still worked even after the Blink bankruptcy.
I never got my SEMA connected to work, but I used the PlugShare.
Pay with PlugShare?
Yeah, that's what I've always used now.
Oh, I tried that first and it didn't come up as available on the app.
That's a
But-
year or so ago.
Oh, a year or so ago, yeah. Blink bought SEMA Connect, for those who don't know, and I see no representation from the ZEV co-op tonight. Scott Vandervoort's working on that along with my former company, EV Works. And they just sent a very strongly worded letter to Blink as Blink was their selected charging station vendor and has adopted the same tone as ChargePoint. Oh, we're so sorry to hear that the cables were cut off your brand new charging station before it was ever worked. We're also sorry to tell you that the station's non-serviceable. You need to buy a new head. And I have been Don Quixote against ChargePoint for 2 years on this issue on behalf of Tacoma Power. You know, they claim the 4000 series heads aren't repairable. It takes myself or even a trained electrician 45 minutes to replace the 2 cables, as long as you pry the little fragile plastic tabs carefully out of the head. And but they're sticking to their line, and what was a $1,400 replacement head this summer instead of a $140 cable, they're now asking over $2,000 for. And I told them that as of January 1st, we would install no new charge points, and we're switching over to Flow. And what do you know, the National Director of Fleet Accounts finally engaged me yesterday in substantive conversation.
How did the conversation go,
Are
Jay?
they making a policy change?
No policy changes announced, but she agrees to work through these issues with me and comp me a year of renewal fees, so we didn't have to leave the network immediately.
Are they paying people to cut the cords, or what's?
That's a common line at Tacoma Power. Hey Jay, how much are you getting off this copper? And I say $8 a cable about is the value of the scrap copper, but it's endemic and no end in sight. I know City Light. Nobody hears from City Light or PSE. They're having the suffering, and the state expensive but ineffective planning efforts extend to the low carbon fuel standards. Who's seen the ads by the Western States Petroleum Association saying call the governor's office and your representative to get the carbon taxes repealed and get gas prices under control again? Well, those carbon taxes pay for EV carbon credits that come back to not EV drivers, but the utilities that provide those EV drivers with power. And by my calculations and the current market value, it's about 5 cents per kilowatt hour worth of carbon credits for EVs plugged in at home. And it's based on the assumption of 12,000 miles a year of EV charging per residence. Department of Commerce was supposed to issue those credits in July. They still have not sorted out their mapping issues yet, and we don't have any credits to auction or bank as utility, and it's piling up. But it will be a large windfall of monies dedicated to electrification. And the state roadmap that they just released, that I would encourage you all to read, is saying we don't need any more residential incentives for adoption. That's taken off and running. We want to put all the money into medium and heavy duty trucking and equity-centered electrification of transportation. My humble calculation, over $450 a year worth of carbon credits per vehicle going into electrification programs that will benefit everybody else, while we also pay, total is it now $275 a year of extra fees on our registrations to cover electrification and make up for the lost gas tax. So EV drivers are not faring well in the current push towards electrification.
We're all rich.
Yeah.
Ways of the legislation.
Yeah. So, and that's, you know, SEVA, those who look around the room would probably agree with me that I'm still one of the young ones in the room after 16 years of attending SEVA. And we are so far not growing along with the EV market share. And another one of Phil's recruits, Magdalena, is a professional marketer who has volunteered a couple of hours of her time per week to try and expand our reach and membership and influence. And that could prove valuable. Did I see a raised hand?
I just happened to have renewed my Lightning registration, sent it to the first Connecticut advance, and not having driven it for 3 months. The electrification fee is $225.
$225. And there's a bill in the legislature to exempt the non-plug-in hybrid drivers from their $75 a year electrification fee. Because that ain't fair. So lots of stuff happening. I thank Grace for her excellent legislative update. Did that just come out this afternoon while she's on vacation?
I think so.
A many point message that I haven't had a chance to review yet. But if SEVA is going to influence the course of this parade that's really picking up speed, we're going to have to get studious about it.
She's on the call, so you can say thank you.
Thank you, Grace. You are greatly appreciated. Okay. Did everybody hear enough about Jay's Christmas adventure with the Tesla Model 3 reservation through Hertz? If I read about that online? Show of hands, anyone want to hear anything more?
Yeah, how would you fix it, Jay?
How would I fix it?
How would you can comment on the issue, but how would it be fixed?
Well, I would train the local Hertz representatives that when they rent a Model 3, it should actually include a universal mobile connector with the adapters inside the kit and an adapter so that the Tesla can use the J1772 charging station, none of which were included with my Model 3, but I could tell that they had been there because one little orphan 1450 pigtail remained in the trunk. And of course, I asked about it in advance, I asked about it at the checkout counter, and when I threw all my bags in the trunk and then opened the frunk and said, "Where's the charging kit?" they said, "It's in the spare tire well in the trunk." So rather than digging out all my bags, I tested my luck and I struck out. And spent hours while driving. I put over 1,100 miles on the car over the Christmas vacation rental, and spent hours on hold with Hertz, and just classic corporate ineptitude. They were going to coach me to a fast charging station, which I repeatedly told them I did not need, but they responded with, "Well, can you make it to Ann Arbor?" They were looking at the state name abbreviated, and I said, "Ann Arbor, Michigan? I'm in Mississippi. That's a different abbreviation."
That's MS.
And it got worse from there. They sent me to a Hertz location to swap out the car. And I said, "I don't need to swap out the car. I just need the charging cable." I said, "Well, we gave you a car that wasn't fully equipped. We'll give you one that is." And I said, "Thank you very much." And I got there. They're not EV certified. They've never rented a Tesla. And so I just drove to the nearest Tesla store, where gave them a VIN from my rental. They sold me a UMC within 5 minutes. I showed up at 5:50 and left at 5:55, and stayed on their service supercharger for 20 minutes for free while I was there. Everything that Tesla touched was gold, and everything that Hertz touched turned to straw. It was just a real mess, and I continue to keep that case open and pester them about it just for amusement and education.
Jay,
Yeah.
Grace has her hand up. She's patiently waiting to speak.
Grace, please address the assembled group.
Hey, can you hear me?
We hear you great.
Oh, fantastic. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Grace.
Hi, Grace.
I really appreciate you putting together this hybrid meeting. I'm afraid I am not available to do video calls because we have very limited bandwidth out here at the end of Dungeness Spit, which is out in the middle of the Strait of Juan Fuca.
You're back at the lighthouse, Grace?
Storms right now. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh, fantastic.
you're amplified now.
Okay. Oh, fantastic, good.
That's why you're talking to the
So,
hand.
but I did want to just do a quick review of some of the bills that we have going on in Olympia right
if you did see the update that I sent out just real briefly, which is all I could manage to do while I was on vacation without my computer. But I do have more details about some of the bills that they're looking at. There's some good ones and there's some bad ones. So we want to look at that and make sure that we know which way we want to speak about each of these issues. Also, the roadmap that Jay referred to, that is the EV Coordinating Council's report recommendations that they sent last week to the legislature. That we don't actually have a bill. I'm expecting probably an omnibus bill will be introduced with a number of those recommendations in it. But that has not come forward yet. It's a short session, so hopefully they'll get on it and get the most urgent things out right away. So we're still listening to see what's gonna happen with that. But let me go ahead and do a quick update of things that are actually under consideration. And let's see, one of them is up for a hearing, I think, tomorrow. It's pretty soon. Hold on a second, now I have to get there again. I was already there, and then of course I lost it, so. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yes?
Oh, yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay, fantastic. I just want to make sure it's still working. Okay, first off, we have House Bill 1368, which was reintroduced from last year. That's requiring funding and purchasing zero emission school buses. And that is, has a hearing January 11th, so that's Thursday at 4 o'clock. We already discussed this last year. We're highly in support of this. If anybody can get online and testify or send an email to your representatives by Thursday, it's in front of the House Appropriations Committee. It's already passed through the Education Committee. So let's get it out of House Appropriations and get it over to the Senate and get that thing passed this year. That would be great. It's already had a lot of review last year, so we should be able to get it through this year. Next is House Bill 1868, and that restricts new gas outdoor lawn equipment and provides grants and tax breaks for electric alternatives. I am all for this. I mean, battery electric lawnmowers and leaf blowers would do so much to improve the environment because, of course, those devices are not, there's no emission controls on those things. They do terrible things to our environment. And so if we can get that through, that would be absolutely wonderful. 6-year exemption from sales tax for battery electric equipment is really gonna make them more affordable, which is wonderful. Okay, and then we have House Bill 2051, which is to reduce emissions from small off-road engines. Also, another great bill that I'm hoping will go somewhere. It follows California's small off-road engine bill and for lots of different equipment, and it creates a 5-year program providing grants for local government for replace working outdoor power equipment. Also a sales tax exemption. This is for equipment with producing less than 25 horsepower. And it also applies to push mower, which is awesome. So push mowers will no longer have to pay sales tax. Is that good news or what? Yeah. Next we have House Bill 2189, which is the one that exempts regular hybrid vehicles that are not plug-ins from the $75 electrification fee. That fee goes toward installing electric vehicle charging stations, and so those vehicles like Priuses have not been able to use those stations, and yet they're still paying the tax. So this is going to exempt them. This is also a good thing. Let's make sure to get that one passed. Then we get to the Senate. Senate Bill 5812 requires a study of best practices for responding to electric vehicle fire. This one is a bipartisan bill. Sounds like it will be do some good things and provide some good data and best practices. So I do want to learn more about it, but I think that's something you might want to support. Senate Bill 5872 would require human safety operators in any autonomous vehicle operated on a highway. And it says highway for some reason, not like city streets, so I'm not sure about that. But, and this obviously is aimed at, Teslas and other electric vehicles that have, autonomous, features on them. So, doubt that's gonna go anywhere this year, but, there've been similar bills for previous years that didn't go anywhere. We're gonna have to see if that's gonna actually go anywhere, if we want to support it or not.
Grace, wouldn't that apply to, Cruise and the other autonomous vehicle companies that have been testing in Seattle?
Yes, it would. It would just require them to have a licensed driver who can immediately take control of the vehicle at any time in the driver's seat at all times. So, yeah, and that seems sensible at this point, as we don't have level 5 autonomy. That's really not a thing yet. So it would seem like there should be some caveats on that bill saying, okay, when we do reach level 5 and you've passed a certain kind of certification, which previous bills have said, then that would be the point at which you wouldn't need a driver, a licensed driver in the car. But, you know, it's probably not gonna go anywhere at this point anyway, so we'll just have to see what happens with that if it progresses at all. And then there's Senate Bill 5909, which reimburses tow truck operators for towing, transport, and storage of electric vehicles, all kinds of safety things that it would provide for them, to make sure that, you know, nobody's gonna catch fire from those dangerous batteries in the electric vehicles. So, you know, that's something I don't think is a real high priority, but obviously somebody's pushing for it. We have Senate Bill 5945, which would prohibit the direct retail sales or leases of vehicles and some subscription services, and would limit manufacturers' abilities to get dealers to install fast chargers. This is obviously coming from some people who don't want electric vehicles to succeed. So I think we would do well to try to oppose this certain legislation, especially the part about not requiring dealers to install electric vehicle charging stations. Can you imagine trying to be able to buy an electric vehicle from a dealer who can't charge the car? That's insane. It would definitely limit what we're gonna have for supply of electric vehicles when dealers don't have any requirements on them at all. And then the final one I have is Senate Bill 5951, which would repeal the state's authorization to allow charging by the public at locations where it's providing the power. And so this would just say, hey, the state doesn't get to install charging stations that are used for their fleets or their employees, and then they can prohibit the public from using them. And I'm just not sure that we want to allow the state to prohibit the public from using public charging stations. It doesn't seem right.
Well, if you put it that way, you're just tricky.
Accessibility for everybody all the time. So, but it's up to you guys. You might want to discuss that and see if that's reasonable or not. Any questions about any of that? There's a whole lot of stuff I know, but there's a few good things that we definitely want to see go forward.
What do you think the manufacturer is going to tell these dealers if they pull out the charging stations because they don't want EVs? You might have to repeat the question.
Did you hear that, Chris?
The manufacturers are going to tell the dealers? Well, you know, what, was it GM who said, no, if you don't want to sell these vehicles, then we're just gonna take them away. We're not gonna sell them if you don't want to provide the charging and the infrastructure. So that could happen.
Yeah, I believe it was GM that just bought out a whole bunch of dealerships that did not want to electrify, and the average turnover per year of those dealerships was minuscule. They didn't, have much of a reason to exist anymore. But they don't have to do that. They could go the way Chrysler did and just say, we have too many dealerships, your franchise is hereby revoked. That's what they did in the 08 recession.
That's exactly right. But then that will still limit supply the ability of the public to access vehicles.
Any more questions for Grace? Well, thank you very much for that extra service while on vacation, Grace.
My pleasure. Thank you for letting me participate like this. I wish I was there, but I will see you guys all next month.
All right, we wish you were here too. Enjoy your vacation.
All right, thank you.
Please let us know when Grace has left the room and we can talk about her freely. Oh, did that bring up any other burning ideas or questions? You can see it's a very busy session and a short one at that, so we may have to move quickly if we want any influence on bills or testifying
Can I
to
make a
them.
suggestion, which
I'm afraid you will.
Jeff might disagree? The chairman of the committees cannot hear any bill they don't want to hear. So if you're gonna talk to one person, talk to the chairman.
That'd be a quick way to squash a bad bill.
That's a great way to squash that bill. And a professional person like our friend Chad here could put it in terms that they would understand. If he chose to do so.
All right. Oh boy, other burning issues. We are going to have an election next month. And we have a candidate for vice president who is already serving double duty here as cameraman and webmaster for the evening. Thank you very much. And we still are searching for secretarial candidates, are we not? Because you notice Billy has been scribing away furiously on his secretarial
Pen's running out of
desk.
ink, sorry, can't do it anymore.
His fingers are worked down to a nub, and he's gonna roll off, and the perfect minutes that we have been enjoying for, I forget, is it 2 or 4 years?
Started, I've lost track.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Billy has set the standard for describing this beyond.
Yes, Rob has some ideas about possibly substituting artificial intelligence for Billy. Form your own judgments.
Yeah, it's called Billy.ai.
Yeah.
But
So, look,
in all seriousness,
any intelligence will beat mine.
anybody that is interested, the transcribing apps do a great job, capture everything that's being said, and then it's just a matter of cutting it up and distributing it to the members. So it will become a lot easier.
Okay then. So please consider serving as secretary or nominating someone who will not be in attendance next month. One of the two. Any other items for the good of the order? Bits of news, adventure tales. Stephen.
I have an opportunity.
Can I use this?
As you probably, as you probably know, I have been working with Ford Performance and MLE race cars in Seattle over the past few years, and MLE is going to be getting a bunch of batteries, which they'll be planning to sell. So there's probably at future times will be some opportunities to buy some good high power batteries locally, but to clear out they're getting a big shipment of lots of batteries and stuff in, and so we're trying to clear out other things in the shop. And when we were building the F-100 Illuminator pickup truck, the 1978 Ford pickup truck that we took to SEMA, that basically used a Mach-E drivetrain and basically grafted Mach-E into the old classic truck. We had started with Premier version of the Mach-E, and then at the last minute, Ford wanted us to use the GT version that is even more powerful. And so we have the complete, we'd already taken the complete drive system out of the front and rear drive units and cradles out of brand new in 2021 Mach-E, and then we didn't wind up using that, and so that's been taking up a lot of space in the shop, and we need to just blow it out. And so that's going to be offered. It's on 2 pallets, and anybody that's interested, I can show you pictures after the meeting, but we're asking only $1,600 for the whole thing. So if you got a project, it's the full cradle for the front and rear of a Mach-E Premier all-wheel drive, and it's got the inverters and everything, and the suspension and the brakes. The challenge is I'm not sure that we have the VCU for it, so getting them to work in your thing, I'm not sure also was out there aftermarket for that, but it's a pretty steal of the price. Price of my old 8-inch DC motors from the old days. So if anybody's interested, talk to me after the meeting. And it's local, and we want to get rid of it ASAP.
Speaking of DC motors from the old days, I hear you have a new coworker, and he has given us authorization to speak of that.
Yes. Some other sad news. Rich Rudman of Manzanita Micro. I mean, the good news is he's working at MLE. The sad news is he's closing Manzanita Micro. So if any of you have Manzanita BMS or chargers, he's kind of still in the process of closing everything down. You might be able to have some work done on it. He may be I helped him last weekend move some stuff from the shop to his house, again, like the main power bench, so there's some hope that some part of it you can still do some maintaining of chargers and stuff, but he laid off Brian, who had been doing all the last employee there, and he'd been doing all the main repair work and stuff, so it is not good for the Manzanita. That's a sad ending of the chapter of good local stuff.
There's a chance of him donating one opened up for the museum, if the museum wanted to display the history of the Seattle electric vehicles, or,
I'd say there's
pictures of all these old guys before they lose their beards, and they're sitting there like this.
He's probably got one of the original, like the ammo can charger, his very first prototype charger. I'm sure he would donate that for the museum. Also, Oatmar came up. I guess I helped Rich 2 weekends ago and Rhonda as well. And then Oatmar came up last weekend and got almost all of the Zilla stuff. And took that back. Also looking for a home to build the Zilla again now that is gone, sadly. But at least Oatmar saved all the stuff, so that is getting saved.
But there will be no Manzanita garage sale, as far as I hear. All cleaned out. Most of the shop's mostly cleaned out, and
I haven't talked to Rich super recently about it, but his goal was to clean out as much of it as possible.
Yeah, I spoke with him this evening.
Okay. Last I saw, potentially if people are interested in stuff, there was like the soldered flow bench. I know Oatmar did not take the big curing oven for conformal coating stuff of the Zillas, and there's potentially, when I was there 2 weeks ago, there was a ton of stuff.
So a sad day. The end of high performance DC controllers. We shall see. Glad I got my Z2K while we still could. And a PFC 50, and a PFC 20, and a PFC 20, and a Z1K, and a Z1K. Anyway, it's a sickness. Oh, anything else? We do not have Scott Vandervoort tonight. The high-performance Jaguar convertible that they've been building at EV Works for the past 2 years was to have made its first drive by now. I'm not aware of any news to the contrary, but that has been a huge project. And Maxwell Vehicles is still going strong. Any other startup news? Has fusion been achieved? Ron?
We're always making progress.
They're always making progress towards fusion.
We're building our next prototype.
The next prototype. And a couple of passings to note. Good friend Doug Weathers, who I was in correspondence with about Carmanguia electric conversions when I caravanned towed my Carmen Ghia project here from Atlanta in 2004, passed away recently, much too young, and we also lost Gibran Solbeh. If you look up Furriest Dog on YouTube, he chronicled his adventures, and this is a guy who was chasing parts in a yard just 2 years ago and saw a very clean-looking white Ford Ranger EV. He looked underneath it and couldn't believe he saw a massive battery pack. He knew nothing about these trucks, but of course he took the truck home for pennies on the dollar and then proceeded to YouTube his restoration of it, and it is available. His widow is asking $8,000 for that truck that he put a brand new 100 amp hour battery pack in just 2 years ago.
Did he come to our meeting?
He came to at least one.
He was
Yeah,
a younger guy,
He
though.
was, I'm assuming we're doing them on Zoom.
older than me, younger than you.
Okay.
Yeah, he had his 13-year-old daughter was building the
Exactly.
truck with him.
Yeah, his young daughter. And he was a serial projecteer. His next project was an 8-wheel drive, 2-person amphibious vehicle, the Argo from the 70s. And he got the engine running on that, so he hadn't electrified it yet. But he found it inadequate to go up to their ski cabin in winter. Is our Mountaineer representative on the phone who wants to electrify the Snowcat? So he found the Argo insufficient, so he bought himself a 4-wheel drive K-van out of Japan. And he immediately put mat tracks on it, those triangular all-terrain tracks. And he successfully demonstrated that and was planning on taking it skiing this winter. So a real amazing guy who turned around crazy projects like that one after another. And following on that theme, there's yet another recently restored Ranger EV available in California from an owner who's no longer feels up to driving it around and maintaining it. And fortunately, my 2 Ranger EVs are spoken for and in use, but my 3rd Ranger EV, which I already sold to a coworker at Tacoma Power, has had the battery completely rebuilt, and he'll be taking the truck from me in the next couple of weeks and installing said battery. But that'll be another one on the road. Those are great trucks. Yes, Mark.
Arcimoto.
What has happened with Arcimoto? I do not know.
We filed for bankruptcy.
Yep, they were up down after the owner's DUI.
Oh, DUI, okay.
That was about a year ago.
But are they alive at all?
Twitchy ever since then, yeah.
Twitchy would describe it.
So there's a local guy who works as lean and mean and cutthroat as Tesla is in those lean days of business where you just need to, cut your marketing department because there's no point in marketing something you can't engineer and build and get that stuff straight on. So yeah, I hadn't heard.
Look out the stock value here. It's
Yeah. I hadn't heard about the bankruptcy. I also did a bunch of shares 2 years ago.
78 cents a share.
At a massive loss. But it's fine. There's one that runs around my neighborhood. I still see it, right? And that makes me wonder if it'll build a way out of the Sparrow, right? Being a community support vehicle.
Remember, it was on Lake Sammamish when he's always had NEVs.
Yes, I'm forgetting his name. He was our Zoom host during the first year of the pandemic.
Right.
Ed Mills, yes. He loves his FUV. He was a nice evangelist for them. But another one bites the dust in the long chain of unique little EVs. I was recently offered a Zap Zebra that a collector friend drug home from a field somewhere. That's a 3-wheel fiberglass bodied Chinese pickup truck of 2010 or so. Which reminds us of how far we've come.
Yeah.
We're worried about the these ambitious targets going forward, and of course, there's always some bad news seeking to displace the good news. But just think about it. We met in the church/Mosaic Coffee House for some 17 years, I believe. I showed up, I just missed the last meeting in Chuck Benson's living room and showed up for the first one in the Mosaic Coffee House. And there were no production cars in the club. The first roadsters were...
No, we had the S10
We had it, Stevens S10 EV. And Matt Moreno had his Ranger EV, but there were no EVs in production. And when did the first roadster show up for the club?
Pretty soon thereafter, we had a few roadster owners coming to me just after the move.
But I was just looking up some archive info from Plug-in 2013, and it was all about how, oh my gosh, everybody's pulling back on their production targets because the Leaf and the Volt aren't selling the way that they were expected to. And the more things change, the more they stay the same. You know, the Chevy Bolt is on clearance. It has stopped production, and there's supposed to be great deals out there. I called up the low-price leader, Sunset Chevrolet, in low-price Sumner, Washington. And of course, they wouldn't tell me the price over the phone, and they absolutely would not tell me that they would not put a second sticker on top of the MSRP. And that's what they did to torpedo their Volt sales for a full 12 months, put a $12,000 second sticker on every Volt. So beware of the dealers.
Does anybody know of Chuck Benson?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What's Chuck's status?
Yeah, I don't know.
I do not know. It would be a nice position. We have vacant positions and those that ought to be reconstituted or newly created. We no longer have a regalia coordinator, and it's been quite a while since we've printed any SEVA shirts or stickers. We do not have someone who keeps track of the members when they stop attending meetings. We still don't know the fate of that beautiful yellow Studebaker pickup truck conversion that stopped coming to Greenwood a couple of summers ago.
Passed on.
Yeah, you passed away.
We knew he was in ill health. Okay, he passed away, but no other communication. So as SEVA considers professionalizing, think of SEVA in your final plans, and a tax-deductible donation to the club could find the final resting place for your vehicle in caring hands. That sort of a thing. How's the treasury, Charlie?
Oh, it's doing okay. What did I say it was? It's
45 something.
just under 25K.
125, that'll buy you a Bolt.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, in general, over the last few years, it's been slowly going down. Our bank account, a few years ago was closer to 27K.
$1,000 a year operating cost.
So,
What a tight ship we run.
yeah, most of the outgo is for sponsoring like the XXX car show and the Greenwood Auto shows.
Yeah, XXX club.
Yeah.
Another, XXX for those online is gone. Did Jose pass away?
No.
No, he just retired. Okay, that's good. Yes, Phil?
XXX has a new location. I'm talking to Buddy, the guy who's working it with Marv. I don't want to say where it is yet, though. They have a coordinating meeting, but they will have a new location somewhere.
Will they preserve all the automobilia?
Yeah, what'll happen? Will they continue the car shows?
Well, XXX signage and all that is up in the air. There's a whole bunch of things going on. Just call it downtown association, the mayor, it's just so complicated. I don't want to go into it.
Well, they're not gonna change the menu, right?
If you want to eat dirt and during the construction or whatever they're gonna put there, welcome to it. The new location, I think, don't quote me, is where the Earth Day thing, the Ray Stiller organized. I think that's what it is, but I gotta go see it. I don't think it's finalized. But all the clubs want need to get somewhere.
Yeah.
We hope they save the sign, that would be nice.
But that's the toughest part, is that massive sign.
Yeah, it's the only one in the world, I think.
Well, there was one on the main drag in Auburn that became Big Daddy's Drive-In, and I think it got demolished in recent years.
Yes, I've done what I could to to ask for that, because generally they're up to the city, because they don't control the signs.
So, speaking of SEVA funds, Jay, you posted the other day about, making, your dues, payments, in January.
Yeah, dues
And you
payments in January.
provided a link to the SEVA webpage for donations and
Yeah.
memberships. There was some note there that said that, the form below may not be working, and provided another link, said, you know, enter your information and dues payments on this other link.
That sounds nefarious.
And, well, yeah, and so that link, when I clicked on it, it went to another page that looked like it was an EAA page. So it wasn't clear to me, was the donation gonna go to SEVA or the EAA?
I intended to provide both an EAA and a SEVA link.
Well, the SEVA link says to use this other link, which is an EAA page. I don't know in the background where the money was actually gonna go, so I didn't actually do it.
Okay, well, I can tell Ryan is thinking hard right now, and if he had two phones, he'd be juggling both of them.
And I didn't know if I should try to use the original form that was on the SEVA page, because it kind of says it may not work.
Thank you for that fiduciary note of responsibility. We'll get to the bottom of it.
Or did anybody order a Cybertruck?
1, 2, 3.
Put in your order?
Oh,
$4,000.
You mean-
not just the
oh,
reservation,
not
but
just
actual.
reservation, no.
Yes, I have purchased a Cybertruck. It's the Cyber Beast edition.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of confusion on the order page. It said that the dual motor would be available now or soon, first quarter.
Yeah.
The Cyber Beast tri-motor variant, it said was available this summer-ish, second, third quarter. So I did that, did $1,000, configured my truck, with my options or whatever. I didn't get the range extender, otherwise it's bundled with a bunch of pieces. It then kicks you into the Tesla app to complete the purchase process. So I did that, signed up for, and they immediately asked for financing. So I'm like, well, this financing is only valid for 30 days. Why do I need to do my financing now? It's not coming till you're not building them for the summer, which is borne out in like the deliveries that we're seeing. Is like 10% are three-motor versions, 90% of them are dual motors. So their estimate on the order page looks correct. So I did the financing. They approved me with the contingent of that I must pay off my Ford Lightning loan. So I tried to reply with, hey, I've got a repurchase lemon law thing in the process. Will that work as proof of payment? And they're like,
So what number were you originally?
I had two reservations. One of them was number 7,000-ish. The second reservation was number 40,000-ish.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for my initial financing round to just expire. 10 more days or less.
Grace has a question?
Oh, I was just going to try to clarify what Ryan was saying about the reservation. Since I used to work at Tesla, what they usually did, and this was back in the early days of the Model Y as well. Hi, can you hear me?
Yep,
Yep.
you're good.
There we go. Usually because they don't want you to do your funding 6 months in advance, but they just want you to tell them if you're going to finance or you're going to pay cash or what your plans are, but you don't have to actually apply for the financing that far in advance. So that's what the way they used to do it. Were they wanting you to do something more than that?
No, that was exactly, it was just the first step of the process. The first step was take a picture of your license, validate that you are a person, the person that's signing up for the thing. I did that step. And then the next thing was, they said, okay, what kind of financing are you gonna do? Are you gonna do cash? Are you gonna do your own loan? Or are you gonna do financing with us, Tesla? So like, let's try out the thing with Tesla. And so I gave them all my credit stuff to do a credit pull to find out. And I just found it odd that this was very early. It was gonna expire before any delivery thing. But it sounds like that's just how the system works. They're not set up to do internal financing for a product that is still 7 months out. And so it didn't know any better, and so it just prompted for financing, because that's just the way the app is set up.
Yeah, that's a little bit different than they used to do, because they used to be, yeah, we're just gonna choose which option that you're planning to do, but you don't have to do the application yet. So apparently they're wanting a little more to make sure you're serious about this, right?
Yeah, I mean, and so I think I'm just gonna let it expire. I just kind of, see how the process plays out. I expect that it will expire in 7 days. Will be the 30 days after I applied for it. We got conditional approval. And at that point, I'll just tell them, I've got my own financing lined up, or I'm gonna do cash, and it won't matter because I won't need to actually do anything for 5 months. And the lightning thing should come through in 3 months from now. And so the timing should work out. It was just a little bit odd, but.
Yeah, it's just gonna make sure that they're not gonna pull credit for you, because you don't want that to happen more than once. And they never used to do that, so I'm hoping that's the same.
Yeah, so they did do that once when I did the order.
Oh, right, okay, well, hopefully that's the only time then. Good.
Yeah, so they said that.
Congratulations.
Sure, yeah, hope it plays out.
Did they, in the small print, when you read through everything, did they have the $50,000 lawsuit threat if you sell it within the first year?
I didn't look for it, but I saw elsewhere that was documented.
I've seen mixed things, and my ability to buy one if I wanted came up for, I have 3 reservations.
Right.
And I followed it through, but didn't actually pay, and didn't see it in the small print that was there. It said that they discouraged reselling and stuff, but I didn't see it. But other people said after you actually paid $1,000, then they give you a revised terms.
So I have a.
And so I'm curious.
Yeah. So since I did the configuration and paid the down payment, essentially, I do have the purchase agreement. So I will look through it to see if it's in there. My understanding was that it was in there months ago. And they pulled that wording out. And I think that they added it back, that they discourage it, and they'll pursue you for $50,000 if you flip it within 12 months or something like that, which kind of makes sense. I don't know if it's enforceable or not, but they're not the first to have done that on a specialty rare vehicle where people are incentivized to flip it, right? It makes sense. Any other Cybertruck questions and stuff? So one thing to know, a lot of people have gone around, and I'm not sure if this is get more people on board with the so they're initially doing this foundation, as in Isaac Asimov's foundation sci-fi. What?
It's just called the Foundation Series.
So the foundation is a sci-fi series. So that's the foundation issue of the Cybertruck, or these initial initial versions or whatever. And there's a premium that of like $20,000 more than the MSRP. But if you look up all of the options that are bundled with it, it's a pretty good deal. Like all the options add up to the $20,000. So it's not a premium to get a badging on the Founders Edition or the Foundation Edition, which is what this is. Like the first 100 Roadsters or the Foundation Series or Founder Series Roadsters, right? So they're doing something similar, but it turns out that all of the options add up to what the premium is on it, right? So you get light bar, you get a bunch of these accessories.
Full self-driving.
You get the full, you get the FSD, which at the time of my reservation was like $7,000, so I maybe lost out on an early reservation price for the FSD. But until we get closer to delivery, there's no point in me talking to them about, hey, do I get it for what I reserved it for or not? Lifetime premium connectivity, all this stuff. It turns out that it's all of the foundation options add up to roughly what the premium is. So it's not like you're paying $20 grand for the badge.
Do you have the extra battery pack?
No, it didn't have the
one option.
Yeah, it didn't have the extra battery pack. During the purchase, you could reserve an additional battery pack for a $1,000 down payment. I did not do that. I'm kind of on the fence of whether I need it or not.
Also, the Foundation Series comes on big old 35-inch tires, and so the range is not 340 miles, it's like 318.
Yeah, it's all big all-terrain tires, yeah. So, one of the first things I was considering is if somebody has like cheap rims with like super hard tires or something that's super low resistant, I don't care about the traction so much, just for, big truck donut tires or something. To see if we can pump that range way up. Anyway.
All right. We're at T-5 on our scheduled time. Any last
We have as
items?
much time as we want.
All right.
Never goes to midnight.
Yes, Brian.
Does anybody here have or planning on getting all three of the Lightning, the Rivian, and the Cybertruck?
Zach and Jesse on the Now You Know channel are.
Okay.
And out of spec motoring guys
Out of spec, no problem.
saying that they're going to do a shootout between Rivian, F-150 Lightning, and Cybertruck coming very soon. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I've already enjoyed their F-150 Lightning versus Rivian towing. They have a number of pretty exciting and informative videos on that. The Rivian suffers from cooling issues compared to the F-150.
So that's
Is that
Yeah,
rapid fast charging.
and maybe doing rapid fast charging, but also just from the towing. I think that
Regenning, heavy regen.
Up and down with an I-70.
Yeah.
Yeah, up and down,
Yeah.
going.
They're in Colorado, so very steep hills that they run them on. Towing identical U-Haul trailers with big bins of water for the same weight and everything. Pretty scientific, and stopping at the fast charger, seeing how quickly each can charge.
I bet they were towing at 70 miles an hour.
Yes.
Yeah, my dad's 28-foot Airstream has a bumper. The only bumper sticker in sports says, "Warning, slow, grandparents at play." So he's experienced no thermal issues.
Yeah, so that channel.
He's pulling a 28-foot with the Rivian?
Yes.
Oh, what kind of range is he getting?
He's not planning legs longer than 150 miles.
Okay. Wow.
He had to go to Plan B one time and got down to 5% state of charge. But
His trailer costs as much as his Rivian.
yep. Well, he's throwing oil money at it.
Yeah,
What can you
okay.
say? You're not online, are you, Dad? To take us out, Hugh, would you like to share a little bit of your accumulated wisdom from driving a through-the-road series hybrid with rock-hard semi-tires on a Volkswagen transmission?
Well, there's so much to say, but if anyone has any questions, that would be the best way to start.
How reliable are your RAVs and what can you identify?
Transmission's gone out twice. That's been the big problem.
At about 30,000 miles, do you find the gift? Or?
Well, I'm at 170,000 miles on it now. So, first one was under warranty. The second one was done by Tony Williams.
Oh yeah.
And I did have to transport my RAV from Utah to California to get the work done, right? So the pusher trailer came in very handy on that. When I got to the dealership, they're like, "Well, how did you get it here?" And I said, "Well, I trailered it."
And what sort of throttle control do you use on this pusher trailer?
The control is digital, completely digital. It's either on or it's off. The throttle is tied wide open.
But how do you slow down when that engine's pushing at full power all the time?
You set the cruise control on the RAV4, and when it tries to over push what you set, it regens. Puts the extra push into charging the battery.
But won't that jackknife your front wheel drive vehicle?
Well, now that's a very interesting engineering question. If it's on a 2-inch ball, which is really designed to pull, not to push, but it's also been designed to push because it can take a braking load. And given that the force that it's pushing at is a function of the power of the trailer, and power over speed gives you your force. Your little 40 horsepower Volkswagen engine at highway speed puts less force on that, negative force on that ball hitch than, say, a half-ton trailer in a half-G braking mode. So it's actually a lot more stable than everyone's first, including mine, initial take of feeling.
Smoother trailering than any U-Haul you've ever hooked up to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my experience too. Okay.
Any other questions?
But you're going to be heading home to Utah through some pretty icy passes. What happens in the ice?
What?
Route.
What's that?
Which route do you take?
Well, I think I'm gonna go up the Columbia River until I get to the mountains and then cross. But I'm well prepared to get a room and take my time. And going across Idaho once in the icy conditions, because I do this on an annual basis. I come up to Vancouver Island to visit friends. I did run into a situation where the road was very icy, and I found some advantages to having an open differential on the pusher trailer, which is when you break traction, only one wheel will break traction because of the differential, and you can hear the motor spinning up. You realize, oh, it's time to kill the motor. Or I should say engine, to be more clear about that. But luckily, since the other wheel has not broke traction, it's keeping the trailer in line. But that's the point where you kill the engine and you go electric until you find a room that has hopefully a heat pump in the window where you can get your 208 volt dedicated circuit for the heat pump, run an extension cord out, and charge at level 2 all night. And then you have to get the little space heater out of the trunk of the RAV4 and bring it in, plug it in to keep the room warm.
Like any good cowboy, he takes care of his horse first. You find any advantage to a 4-wheel drive when you've got 6 wheels on the ground?
Well, when I was taking it around the White Rim there in Moab, Utah, which is through the Canyonlands National Park, the RAV4 was 2-wheel drive, and I had the trailer on, and the requirement for the trail was you had to have a 4-wheel drive vehicle. I said, well, I got that covered.
Did you actually drive it around in first or second gear at slow speed?
No.
Okay.
Didn't need to engage the 4-wheel drive on that trip.
But that was a fun part of my pushing, was putting it in second gear and getting full regen, faster recharging than on a DC fast session at 35 miles an hour with the engine going full bore. So it was similar forward progress as if I was able to supercharge, because I didn't have to stop and charge, just slow down and charge. So that was fun. Okay, well, we've hit our allotted time, 8:30. Hughes trailer is out front for all to gawk over and ask more questions. Please chime in on this or alternate meeting venues. We'd love to have a real good turnout for the February annual meeting, where we'll get an actual treasurer's report and a board election. And if Grace could stay on for another minute, we wanted to try to schedule a board meeting around the time of the next meeting. So any last minute questions or announcements? Thank you all. We're adjourned. All right.
Where you going?
Oh.